It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Well, you know, did we consider the United States becoming a province of Canada?
Nope. Not ever. No. No.
Oh, man.
No.
I just...
No. Yeah.
Oh, man. It's just
It's a
hilarious.
simple swap. You know, we're kind of used to people getting on buses and going to large cities, right? You know, kind of moving around. That happened with the whole border thing that's going on. So we'll put the people of California on some buses, the liberals, of course, send them up there. And then Alberta, all you folks, you're going to love California. You're going to love, and parts of California do get snow. So you'll love it. Even trade. And we can do it in probably the first week. It does make you wonder what's going to happen with Trudeau. I'm sorry, with Canada, with the elections and you know how long Trudeau can hold on. Yesterday, by the way, he doesn't have a good poker face. You know, Trump actually, I've said it, I don't know how many times, Trump doesn't flinch. Everything that's been thrown at him, he doesn't flinch. Well, Trudeau, a very different type of individual. But he also has that arrogance about him, that elitist look on his face. I'll step down when my party gets its stuff together. We'll let you know. We'll get back to you. What is that? What are you talking about? But it's exactly like Biden. Look, everybody knows he's got cognitive issues and he's not capable of running, but he can still remain the president until January 20th of next year. That's what they were saying, basically. That's what the Democratic Party was saying, which is mind-boggling how that ever was allowed to happen. But here we are.
Okay.
Thank goodness we're getting closer and closer to January 20th.
I'm comparing our debt compared to Canada.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
All right. Canada's debt is, where'd I go here? All right, here we go. I have so many windows open. 1.2 trillion.
Okay.
29,000 per person, per capita.
All
right. You know what the United States, well, we know it's almost 36 trillion. You know what per capita we are? 105,000.
Wow. We're so much better than Canada. It's awesome. See, this is how you do your debt, Canada. You can't even do your debt right.
Well, it shows that fiscally,
and they have government health care.
Fiscally, liberalism is greater here. Yeah, but we waste money more. Better.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. We have
more idiots.
We have the Inflation Reduction Act,
which was about increasing inflation.
I know.
We spent more money and called it the Inflation Reduction Act, only in the U.S. of A.
We borrowed more money, which increases inflation, and we call it the Inflation Reduction Act.
Right. Exactly. And for our next trick,
there are some ways that we BS American citizens better than the Canadian government BS's Canadian citizens.
Well, it's just like with the Affordable Care Act. The operative word is act. It's all an act. It wasn't about affordable care, and it's not about inflation reduction. It's all an act. Yeah, maddening. There's so much work to do. So much work to do.
Well, what'll Biden do now? That's the question. After when we were gone, he just said, "I'm going to let murderers go free."
Yeah.
Or I'm going to I'm going to commute the sentences of mass murderers.
Right. Yeah.
Jeez.
Yep. Well, at this rate, again, we got a couple of weeks here. There's no telling.
Now, I will say this. It gives you hope when you see the polling on Canada when it comes to liberals. And the one thing, and I never finished this thought. I just realized I didn't finish it before when we were talking about, Trudeau now trying to put the big stall on as they try to find somebody from the liberal wing more palatable that hopefully, that this person's more palatable and they can get them elected as prime minister instead of Pierre. And it's like, okay, we've got 3 months. We've got to find someone. Anybody got anybody? And no name comes up. And I started thinking that's just like here in the United States. I mentioned that CNN was doing the whole thing on, Kamala could come back. Kamala could come back. Don't count her out. She could come back. She could come back. And it's like, she's not coming back.
Yeah.
Because and they go, well, Trump did. Yeah, but Trump has always stood where the American public stands on where the majority of the American public stands on actual issues.
Right.
She doesn't.
Right. He's also been consistent on where he stands.
And on the majority of issues.
Right.
He's been consistent.
Yeah.
But you look at this, and so I look at Canada, go, okay, maybe there's some hope when you see how Trudeau was polling. But to me, I knew there was some hope for the American public when this goes back just about a year ago. And it was after the DeSantis debate with Newsom. And they were talking about the fact, well, okay, and it was before the debate, though, if she can't do it, if Biden can't do it and Harris can't do it, we've got Gavin Newsom. He's got the look. He's got that Pat Riley, the former coach of the L.A. Lakers in the late 80s, early 90s. He's got that Pat Riley look. Yeah. He's the guy. He's the guy. And when the polling came out and showed he polled worse than her, you realize the American public had tied in, well, he's part of this party. He leads California. He believes in these particular things that are insane. We don't care if he looks like Pat Riley. We don't care if he looks hip, has that slick back hair, greased look. We don't really care. This guy's an idiot. He's on the wrong side of all the issues. And so you look at that and you go, okay, now I know why they're saying Kamala. Who is there? When you look at the Democratic Party 4 years from now, who is there?
I don't see any rising stars.
There's none. I don't.
Well, because so then how do you create one? I think I could be wrong. I think we're out of the era of rock stars. I think that politically there has to be something different. Now, for the left, I don't know what that is to appeal to a Democratic Party of today. I don't know what that looks like. But it isn't just the image. Barack Obama, he spoke at the, the 2004 convention for the Democrats, and people went, oh, look at that guy.
Yeah, but what did he say? What did he talk about?
Blah, 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 blah.
No. He taught that was the beginning of people saying, well, this guy could do it because he didn't talk identity politics.
Right. No, when he ran in 2008,
he did not.
He wouldn't even talk about gay marriage.
Yep.
Remember, after he got elected, he was grappling through the election,
Right.
first election
Right.
cycle. He had to talk about marriage, and of course, we knew he wasn't being truthful. That's not what he believed.
Yeah,
Marriage was between a man and a woman.
Yeah, we knew he was lying.
Yeah.
And so you look at him now, nobody cares about Obama now. It's like, whatever.
Well, because, again, it was creating, and even his slogan, hope and change, make it as ambiguous as you can. But that was so 2007, 2008. Today, look, imagery, you're going to have to get up there, and you're going to have to perform a lot better than Biden or Harris did ever. But it's not enough for Gavin Newsom. It's, if you want to talk about being able to get up on a debate stage, well, the problem is on the issues he falls. On the issues, he steps outside of that blue bubble of California, and people don't want to hear it.
You look at, for example, inflation. You look at the border that was not secure, and everybody knows that they were lying. You look at the fact that everyone knows. There isn't anybody that doesn't know this. They know that Biden should not be president of the United States. Everybody is concerned about who's running the country right now. Everybody knows that the Democratic Party was lying to them on that. You look at where they stand on identity politics, where they judge people by groups and not individuals. Something that you would assume in 2024 you thought we had rejected that by the time we got to the middle 60s, late 60s, that was going in the opposite direction, and now they've institutionalized it. And then you've got the incredible insanity, absolute insanity of the radical transgender movement, and they're still polling 47, 48%.
Yeah, right.
So that 47, 48%, do they agree with it, or do they just hate Trump that much? And will there be a difference when Trump is gone? Because two of the most serious questions that I have, because I think this is a clear indication, because it's not about money. The way I ask the question is not about money. It's simply about racism and misogyny.
Yeah.
That you would assume that in this intelligent society that we live in, people would have rejected. How long can Democrats, and I've tried to ask the question, they just denied that identity politics doesn't exist. But it does. We know it does. How do I know it does? Because they've talked about it. Tim Ryan ran against Nancy Pelosi on identity politics.
Right.
James Carville has talked about it. We've got to stop with the identity politics. How long will Democrats stand by their narrative that you should judge people by the group that they're in and not individuals? And then you can tie to that, how long can a political party continue when they keep trying to slice up the pie with more victims and therefore more oppressors?
Look, it's a great question because, and I was wondering this the other day, do you just slowly, without saying it, Carville and others have been very vocal about it, but you just kind of slowly roll out whatever it's going to be on your agenda, and you change your tone, your language back to, again, by the way, is that what Carville was saying in part? This idiotic NPR lingo that he was talking about? Well, there is a liberal language. They've changed the meaning of words. And so I'd love to ask him a follow-up question. Well, wait a minute. Hold on a second. Are you saying go back to talking like normal people? Now, again, on the issues, you still fail. But it has to start with the messaging, but the messaging has to be on the issues.
But I dare say that identity politics may be evolving, but it's gotten worse. And I say that in the fact that you know how they use critical race theory, and
right.
that's really been rejected. You saw
DEI
McDonald's
failing.
now dropping DEI.
Yeah.
But think about this: they've just changed it to another group. Brian Thompson.
Yeah.
How the young people? What was the polling? 40-something% of young people believe his murder was justified.
Yeah.
They have no idea if he individually did anything wrong or not.
Right.
It doesn't matter. He belongs to a group called CEOs. We
Right.
judge people by groups and not as individuals,
Right.
not as to whether they're guilty of doing something or not, but whether they just simply belong to a particular generic group.
And it's out of the old liberal playbook about demonizing people who make more money.
Yes,
And
I mean, it's,
and have power.
right, it's another class.
Yep.
That if you have money, you must therefore be evil, or if you control money, you must be evil to the point that we won't even look to see whether you are guilty of any specific crime. You just ought to be murdered.
And
because that's the reality.
And to them, what's more evil than a company who makes a dime off of health care?
Right.
Right? I mean, it's got all of the, checks all the boxes for
But
the old
still,
liberal
it's
playbook.
judging a group.
Yep.
It's judging. It's not judging by whether you've actually done something evil or immoral.
Right.
And at the same time, the Democrats, it was like a plurality, I believe, wasn't it? Or was almost half of young Democrats.
Yeah. 18 to 29? Is that?
That believe his murder was justified.
Right.
Yet here's Biden commuting the sentence, saying no, vicious, horrible murderers should have their sentence commuted. They're okay with it.
Right.
I mean, it's just
Not a peep.
It's just and then you can look at the radical transgender movement.
Right.
I mean, the absolute misogyny of it, and they seem to not care.
Right.
And it became the women's rights issue of this election.
It really was.
But Democrats still swear by it, and it's mainstream in the party. 866-90 Red Eye.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
Some of the trends revealed in USDA's latest edition of America's Farms and Ranches at a Glance. Research economist Catherine Lim says in the report covering data gathered at the end of 2023.
We find that family farms remain the dominant farm type in the U.S. They make up 96% of farms in 2023, and small family farms make up 86% of the farm count.
When looking at the concentration of farm production,
we do find that production is concentrated among large-scale family farms, which made up 4% of farms, but 48% of the value of production in 2023.
And regarding our nation's farms and ranches in the context of government payments,
we find that conservation reserve program payments were generally more concentrated among small family farms than other types of government payments. When we look at federal crop insurance participation, in 2023, overall, 16% of these farms participated in federal crop insurance, which was actually up from 14% in 2022.
I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
Coming up following the bottom of the hour, the more on what we're talking about right now, because yesterday the Democrats, over the last couple of days, the Democrats have made it clear they're not going to change in any way. And I forgot to ask the question. I don't care what political party it is, but when you have a political party, a national political party in the United States, it's one of the majority parties that believes, as we've talked about, in the identity politics.
Yeah.
In the justifiable murder, a significant portion, especially of the young people of that party.
Yeah.
A plurality, maybe even a majority, because I think they did young people. If you take Democrats, I believe it would be greater, that believes that, Brian Thompson, that was a justifiable murder because he's a CEO of a medical insurance company. When you look at the misogyny of the radical transgender movement, the vote that illegal criminal immigrants for sexual assault shouldn't be deported.
Get our Red Eye Radio app in your app store. Then listen at your convenience. Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thank you for being here. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose. Yeah, so the question I have is when you look at, and this is because of yesterday and really the last week, really post-Christmas, where it's like, okay, Democrats have made it clear they're not changing anything at all.
Yeah.
They're not going to change anything that they believe.
Right.
They lost. They believe the problem is people are stupid and don't understand what they're saying.
Right.
Where it's just the opposite. We understand exactly, where they stand on the issues. But the bigger question is, and again, how long can a major political party in the United States last when you believe, number one, let's just do the rundown of it. And I know we've repeated it, but I think it's really important to repeat since they seem not to be wanting to change at all. With identity politics, which is racism, they're judging people by groups and not individuals. That is a Neanderthal mindset for 2024, is it not?
Yeah, it is.
You judge people by groups and not individuals. That's the whole point of critical race theory. That thought process to begin with is as Neanderthal of a thought process as a human being can have in this day and age in 2025. I said 2024. Glad I wasn't signing a check there in 2025. How can you have that? When you look at the border, when you see, and this made news the last week, even though it was legislation that was introduced last year, 158 Democrats supported not deporting illegal immigrants that have a conviction for sexual assault.
Yeah.
How can you stand on that? That's the majority of them. The radical transgender movement. Let me play. I want to play this here. This is Riley Gaines. I saw this yesterday. Fox News posted this as she talked about the radical misogynist transgender narrative out there. Here we go.
We have an entire party, at least in terms of elected representation, who is willing to say that men can become women, that men can get pregnant, that men can breastfeed, that men can be lesbians, and how they've lost the ability to communicate with common sense everyday Americans. Every single Democrat, all 203 of them, voted in opposition of protecting women and girls in sports.
There you go. Every single one.
Yep.
And we've talked about that before. Every single one voted that a man can be a woman if a man says so.
Right.
I mean, these are things that are absolutely just, there is no type of common sense at all. And then we talk about the anti-Semitism that is buried inside the current White House right here. You have Jew haters inside the White House.
Oh, yeah.
We know. We know by what they've said since last October 7th.
Yep.
We know it. How long in 2025, when you think about we're supposed to have a more, I guess, more sophisticated education where we treat people as autonomous individuals, yet one of the major parties has institutionalized absolute Neanderthal mindsets that are the core of what they believe. This isn't a random, well, what did Trump say? Did Trump say that? Was that in code? Is he saying it in code?
Right.
What's the code? Somebody decipher the code of what Trump's done. Because I think Trump's a racist because I think he is using this particular code that we have not yet deciphered.
Remember during the whole Russian collusion thing, when Mueller was assigned, it was going to be a line of questions of, what were you thinking when you did this or said that? And then it became, well, Trump didn't say it. That's code for saying it.
I mean, and so when that's the accusation from the side that has mainstreamed.
Oh, yeah.
When the question was asked, it was in 2020 when they kept saying that systemic racism exists in the United States. You don't believe systemic racism exists? And they were throwing that at conservatives.
Right.
And you and I one day said, no, they're absolutely right. Racism is systemic, and it's been institutionalized in this country.
Yeah.
And it's right inside the Democratic Party.
Right.
That's where it is.
Right.
They're blunt with it.
Yep.
They've discussed the fact that they have to stop identity politics. Well, if racism isn't judging people by the group that they're in and not as individuals, you're a bunch of damn racists.
Right.
And it's so obvious, and I think now the Republican Party needs to focus in on these things and say, my God, how Neanderthal are you? You know, where are you? You know, Trump talks about MAGA, and they say, oh, he wants to go back. You know, MAGA means, and you and I talked about MAGA was always an economic message.
Right.
But they're saying it's a racial message to go back to Jim Crow and slavery and everything else.
Yeah.
But who are the ones that have institutionalized the mindset of racism, misogyny, anti-Semitism? It's been mainstreamed inside, not all Democrats, but it is, as Riley Gaines made clear on misogyny, every single Democrat voted. Every single Democrat that voted in for that bill, every single Democrat that voted for men inside women's private places. That every single one of them voted that a man can be a biological woman if the man says so.
Yep.
Every single Democrat voted for a misogynist policy that has been used to threaten, harass, and intimidate young women in our society to the point where America saw it, and the women's rights issue was not abortion in 2024.
Nope.
It was this radicalism, and they don't plan on changing it all. The question would be, and it's a serious question, if you're somebody who follows the Democratic Party, what will it take for you to finally say, we have to reject this? Okay, I disagree with the Republicans. We should spend $1 more per person on welfare.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I can never vote for a Republican, but I can vote for these racists and misogynists and anti-Semites over here.
You know, it's because they were voting to end Title IX. That's what they're voting. That's what they're voting for.
Yep.
Which is a vote to end the Civil Rights Act.
Yeah, you're right. It is.
Because, again, and we've been saying this all along, it outlines the Civil Rights Act, a group of protected classes, in this case, women, with Title IX. But if anybody can belong to a protected class simply by saying so, then there are no more protected classes. And that's effectively what has happened, thanks to Democrats in the U.S.
And so the question is, and I don't know if there's an answer, because I would think that it should have failed by now. How long can a major political party continue to be able to raise, you think about it, between $2.5 and $3 billion in a presidential election that admits we're racist, we're misogynist, and we're anti-Semites?
Right.
They may not say it like that, but their actions clearly indicate that's what they're about.
That's what they fight
Right.
for. That's what they are motivated by.
But identity politics, the identity politics, judging people by groups, they admit they do that.
Oh, yeah.
It's not racism to them.
Right.
It's just identity politics.
Right.
We're going to change the name of racism to something that sounds more palatable to the average person.
Right.
But it's what it is. It's racism.
Oh, yeah.
And so, and then when you take the victim-oppressor relationship or narrative that they keep promoting, when you keep splitting the pie, when your entire goal of a political party is to separate and divide, you can't win long-term. How long can they last?
Well, because you protect every day you create another a group of victims, essentially, which means there's a new group of oppressors. That was part of the other victim group yesterday. You're dividing them, and you're calling in. At some point, it doesn't matter who you are on the left. Eventually, you become the oppressor. AOC is learning that slowly but surely. I don't know if she's learning it, but it's happening.
J.K. Rowling, Martina Navratilova, they
Yep.
all found that out, didn't they, too?
Yeah.
You're oppressors now.
Liberal, iconic heroes.
Yep.
No more.
Nope.
They will come after you because the left needs to create more victims, a new set of victims each day, which means everybody who was in that other class with them yesterday that isn't part of the new victim class is the oppressor.
And I do think now you're going to see more protests, acts of civil disobedience.
Yeah.
I'll say riots. I do think because I think the Democratic Party is making it clear now we're not going to change. And by saying that, I think they're giving hope now to these radical groups out there. All right, they're going to stand by it. They're going to continue to be anti-Semites. They're going to continue to promote Hamas. Well, if they do that, well, then that gives us an indication that we can still respond the way we wish to respond.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I've got out of the last couple of weeks. Now, you and I have said from the very beginning, Democrats probably won't change. We don't think we find it probably would be too much of a stretch for them to stop judging people by groups and as individuals because it blows their entire core base.
Yeah.
And we know, and I think one of the things that probably shocked some people, but it's logical when you think about human nature, that when you have so many Democrats who believe that it's okay to murder a CEO, that it's justifiable. You know, that's pure insanity. I mean, that is just pure, and it's mostly young people that believe it, but it's the young, it's the young people coming up. Well, the liberal young people that believe, okay, murder is justified in this particular case because they're a CEO of a health insurance company. Well, what did they do? Well, I don't know, but they must have denied a claim, so they should be murdered. AOC justified it, yeah.
She said, well, some people who have claims denied see that claims denial
as an act of violence. I mean, these are, in mainstream America, absolutely rejected mindsets. They've been rejected by the American public as being Neanderthal, and they are, in many cases, the core and the base of the Democratic Party.
They are.
How long can it last?
Well, that's it. You saw this election cycle, the party shed some of those people. They left. They didn't want to be part of that anymore. Does it keep going in that direction? Because, again, the radical base isn't changing. They're not going to change. They can't. But is it going to be more and more people that have supported Democrats in the past? We go back to Michael Rappaport for a reason.
Yeah.
Because he was a Hollywood angry liberal. And now he's angry at the liberals and at the left. I mean, again, go back 5 years and say, hey, Eric.
You said rage evolution.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because he's the perfect example in that. I never, 5 years ago, I would have said, no way. Rappaport, no way. So is it going to continue in that direction? I don't know.
866-98 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. You know, the day after a day after January 6, 2021, you and I said the Democrats will try to use, will attempt maximum use of January 6th. And they did. All the way up till yesterday. Now what? Now that January 6th is gone, what do they start on now? Where do they go? What is the issue that they bring up in order to convince the American public to vote for them?
I don't know what that is.
Because you are going to have votes to put, I believe, over the next 2 years. You're going to have votes both in the Senate and the House to make them take a stand.
Oh, yeah.
On radical issues.
Yeah.
Going up to the midterm.
Yeah, I think so.
You have the opportunity, especially since they've made it clear, we're not going to change anything.
Right.
We weren't wrong because you got it from Schumer and you got it from James Carville. The message is we weren't wrong. The public is stupid.
Right. They're not learning.
Nope.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.